Good evening. Here we are on this wonderful Monday, and I hope everyone enjoyed watching some playoff football. Now, this weekend was filled with some really good football, okay? And now the NFC and AFC championship games are set. Now, today we're going to talk about the two games from Saturday, and then tomorrow we're going to get to yesterday's games, so Sunday's slate of games. But first, I'd like to take some time to kind of honor the legendary quarterback Drew Brees. So, are you ready to get your fix? Well, let's get started with Drew Brees. Now, as we watch the final game of the divisional round, little did we know we might be watching the last game that one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time would play. Now, after last night's game between the Buccaneers and the Saints, experts believe that Drew Brees will retire. Though Drew has come out and said no decision has been made yet, and he's going to take some time with his family and friends and kind of decide where he should take what his next steps should be. Now, I would like to say, Drew, if that was the final game that you're going to play in, thanks for all the memories, okay? Drew has really been one of the greatest quarterbacks that we were fortunate enough to witness. If he decides to retire, Drew Brees ranks first in passing yards with 80,358, second in passing touchdowns with 571, has been to 13 Pro Bowls, was the NFL Comeback Player of the Year in 2014, and he also won Offensive Player of the Year in 2008 and 2011. And then to add to his accolades, he also has one Super Bowl victory in 2009 against the Indianapolis Colts, in which he was the MVP in that game. So as much as I rooted against this guy being a Vikings fan, let me tell you that 2009 season still hits hard. So it just makes it that much better when we can go to the playoffs and, beat you guys like the Minneapolis Miracle. That was great. But, I still, being that I had to root against him, I still understand just how much Drew did for the game and what he brought, to the game. This man, like all of us, has had his shares of ups and downs, but he showed us all one thing, and that's just to leave an impact. Okay, with that being said, I will do some more on Drew Brees tomorrow, being that he played on Sunday, or yesterday, I should say. So let's move over to Saturday's slate of games, starting with the Los Angeles Rams taking on the Green Bay Packers. Well, I think we can all agree that Aaron Rodgers showed us why he's this year's MVP. Now, you remember how I said this Rams defensive line is really good with the likes of Aaron Donald? Well, on Saturday, that Rams defensive line was nowhere to be found, really non-existent. They were unable to sack Aaron Rodgers one time. Honestly, I know Green Bay has a top 3 offensive line in the NFL, but we all know that even the best lines, okay, give up a sack every once in a while, especially when they're playing against a top 3 to 5 defensive line or, top defense in the NFL. So, also with the recent performances from Donald, I thought the Rams would for sure put enough pressure on Rodgers to either sack him or, kind of make Rodgers make a mistake throwing the ball somehow, get enough pressure in there. And that's being reasonable, right? Well, the Rams couldn't sack him like I just noted, okay? And they also couldn't get enough pressure on Rodgers for him to make a mistake through the air, okay? And Rodgers had 2 touchdowns and no interceptions this game. Okay, this Packers offense is so smooth, and I've said it for the past, 5 to 6 weeks, really, that when their offense is on the field, okay, they look like they're running plays in practice. It's like almost too easy for them. Going into this matchup, we all had our eyes on Davante Adams versus Jalen Ramsey. 2 guys at the top of their game going head-to-head for a chance at the NFC Championship game to hopefully, get a chance at the Super Bowl. Well, Davante Adams ended up getting the best of Ramsey. He had 9 catches for 66 yards. And of those 9 catches, Adams got Ramsey pretty good and was wide open for a 1-yard touchdown pass. Now this one play, he lined up on the right side. He motioned to the left, and as soon as Rodgers hiked the ball, Devontae Adams kind of ran like a yard in and then cut straight across the field, and that got Ramsey kind of, oh, what do I do now? And honestly, the outside linebacker, was supposed to help pick up Adams on that across or that slant route or that drag route, but that didn't happen. So Adams was wide open, and so to say, it's probably Jalen's fault more or less than that outside linebacker, but he got the best of him. Now, this game was all Packers, okay, with beating the Rams 32-18, okay? Now, they're now heading to the NFC Championship game, where this is going to be the first time, okay, in Aaron Rodgers' career that he's going to play in an NFC Championship game at Lambeau Field. He's never played an NFC Championship game at home, and that could help him a lot, and we'll get to that later this week. Probably, today's Monday, so probably Wednesday or Thursday, one of those days, we'll get to that and talk about that. So, with that being said, let's move over to the last game that took place on Saturday with the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Buffalo Bills. Now, I have to say that the first half was a battle, even though everyone else that I was watching it with or who was watching around me thought it was boring. Going into this game, I was really unsure how it was going to go because the Bills needed to take away the pass game and limit the run game in order to have a better chance. Well, the Bills allowed the Ravens to run for 77 yards and go 9 for 16 passing with 123 passing yards in the first half. So no wonder why the score was 3-3 at the end of the first half, okay? I mean, that Bills defense was good enough to hold them from scoring a touchdown, but not good enough to keep them from moving downfield. And it was the same on the Ravens side. Okay, they were good enough to stop them from scoring a touchdown, but not good enough for moving down the field. So, the Bills, they couldn't stop that air attack right away. Okay, and that allowed the Ravens to kind of run all over the place. Because now instead of when you don't stop that pass game, now you have to worry about the pass game and the running game. But if you stop that pass game, you only really have to worry about that running game, and that's, what happened. Ravens were able to pass just fine. So that meant that the run game was opened up. However, though, like I said, they played well enough to hold them to a field goal, which is huge. Because if the Ravens end up scoring a touchdown in that first half, they probably win this game. In all honesty, it's a lot of momentum right there, regardless of how that second half plays out. So, like I said, it's big. It's a big defensive stop. But in the second half, it's safe to say that the Bills took my advice, okay, and held the Ravens to just 73 rushing yards. So 4 yards less than that first half, okay, and they also kept Lamar to 5 for 8 passing with only 39 yards. They completely took away the passing attack and made them go to the run game to try and beat them. I told you the Bills would win this game if, like I noted earlier, they stopped the passing attack, okay, and then slow that running game down. And that's exactly what they did, beating the Ravens 17-3, okay, and then they punched their ticket to the AFC Championship game. Well, that is going to end our discussion today, as now all we can do really is, wait to hear some news on Drew Brees to see if he decides to retire or decides to give it one more year. We all seen that little meeting, if you want to call it, with Tom Brady and Drew Brees after the game on the field, and I think they were kind of reminiscing, like, what are you gonna do after this year? Kind of like, what are your plans? And I bet Tom was trying to tell him, stay one more year, let's have this battle one more time. So we'll see what happens with that, and then we also gotta wait for some football this weekend. And that's 5-6 days away, so we got some time for that. You just kind of sit, stew, and think about what the possible outcomes are going to be and stuff like that. So tomorrow we're going to be back here to talk about those games from yesterday, so Sunday's slate of games. Anyways, thanks for stopping by. Have a wonderful night. And you just got your fix with the Wicks.